First of all, welcome to you, Oskar Orstadius from Höegh Autoliners headquarters in Oslo. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I appreciate that you are willing to answer a few questions for us.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Likewise, Oskar. And unfortunately, we have to do it online. We cannot have a drink in hand, but at least we can hope that it'll come soon, right?
That's how it is in 2020, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, the new style. I wish I could meet my wife like this. Anyway, Oskar, let's get back to business. First and foremost, in order for our viewers to get to know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your shipping background leading up to your position as head of sales in Höegh RoRo.
Yeah, so my name is Oskar Orstadius. I'm a master mariner. I used to sail on various vessels, mainly car carriers, RoRo vessels, deep sea RoRo vessels. Then I started my career from working from shoreside, loading the vessels. I had various operational roles before moving into commercial roles, where I was part of our project here in Höegh Autoliners to focus more on breakable cargo, non-self-propelled cargo. So I was leading the first break bulk initiative and investment in vessels, investments in cargo carrying equipment, and also we invested in the organization to attract more breakable cargo. In 2018, I took on new challenges. I was leading the commercial activities for Asia. I moved to Tokyo. I was based there until earlier this year, this amazing year, 2020, when everything happened. I also relocated back to Oslo in the middle of COVID. Now just recently, a little bit more than 1 month ago, I got the new opportunity to take over and lead all sales activity as chief of sales in our organization and be part of the new management team here in Höegh.
Okay. That's very interesting, and I must say, well done. It's it's a high position, but as you know, the higher you climb, the more eyes there will be on you, right? So, how was your time? Just briefly, how was your time in Japan? That must be an interesting place to be stationed at in Tokyo. Is it difficult to return to Norway after Japan, or are you happy to be back?
Yeah, it was an exciting time. So of course, maybe once in a lifetime opportunity to be there and move there with family. Professional or business perspective, it's of course very intense. It's long days and with also time difference to the headquarter in Oslo. It's going from early mornings to late evenings, more or less every day. Business culture is still building on a lot of networks, so it's interesting. Meeting customers much more hands-on than sitting here in our headquarters. So it has been a great experience. Also nice to work close with the team. I had various global roles before moving to Tokyo, so I know our global team and worked a lot with not only with Asia but the whole world, but specifically then as well the offices in Asia. So working more close to the market and close to the teams has been amazing and really interesting journey.
Very good to hear, Oskar. Tell me, to focus now on the Höegh liner services for breakbulk cargo by RoRo. As you know, there are a couple of ways that you can transport breakbulk cargo. There's breakbulk vessels, there are container vessels nowadays, and of course RoRo, which traditionally were mainly cars. Is breakbulk high and heavy? Is that a big focus for Höegh worldwide? Is question number one. And question number two, where in the world do you have your regional, if you sit in Asia and you have an inquiry to place on Höegh, where is the nearest office to contact? Do you have regional offices for this? And how do you organize it on a global scale?
First of all, all cargo segments are very important for us. We have been loading high and heavy cargo or breakable cargo for many years. It's nothing really new. What we did in 2014 was that we invested a little bit more in more tailor-made equipment to be able to facilitate for broader spectrum on the breakable segment. We have been very successful in loading a lot of trains and metro wagons, trams, etc. So it was longer equipment than we originally had. It was also equipment with higher or bigger, better lifting capacity. So we could take also then heavier cargo. We also invested in new vessels, and these vessels had a bigger door opening, so we could also take higher cargo. This together with lower cargo carrying equipment. So we always loaded a lot of high and heavy and breakable cargo, but with these investments we could expand the portfolio, and that has been very successful. I think for RoRo market, as you say, there's a lot of other shipping companies, but for a PCTC or a RoRo vessel, you have multiple decks, but you have some decks, they are constructed to take the heavy cargo, if that's self-propelled or in this case the breakable cargo. So they're constructed and have the possibility to take the heavy cargo, and then we need the equipment to enable such loading. So that is, and it's a good product. It's stowed inside the cargo hold, protected from the weather and the sea. So it's a safe and good way of transporting all types of cargo.
Right. No,
and
sorry.
Yeah. And to answer your second question, then yes, we have headquarter based here in Oslo, and then we have, you mentioned regional office, but I would rather turn it around to be local office, because we have local presence more or less everywhere. So the best way to contact the Höegh office would be through the local office.
Right. So just to give an example, your new vessels, the very beautiful multi-decked vessel that you have purchased recently, give an idea, what is the door opening height and width? I mean, how big a piece can you actually take nowadays, size-wise, just to give people an idea?
Yeah, but first of all, it's two factors, and it's the height, as we mentioned, and the old standard height on a classical car carrier has been 5 meters or 5.1 meter. With the new vessels, we are expanding this up to 6.5 meters door opening. Wow. The next bottleneck is the ramp capacity, where a traditional PCTC had 150 ton ramp capacity, while our new vessels have a capacity of 375 ton on the ramp. So that is the biggest difference. Yes. The width is also a factor where we're expanding and to facilitate it also for really wide cargo. And we had, as part of this investments in equipment, we constructed our own concept with a double wide MAFI system, where we are connecting two MAFIs. So you will have a 5 meter broad platform. So if you have a really wide cargo, you will minimize the risk for tipping. So a very safe method of handling also wider cargo.
And I think it's also fair to say, I mean, I was a freight forwarder myself, and as you know, besides being the editor of Project Cargo Weekly, I'm also the chairman of a couple of networks of project forwarders. I mean, there's no doubt that RoRo is the most safe way of transporting high and heavy for the cargo, also especially when dealing with transshipment, because you roll it off and you roll it on. You don't touch the cargo until the final destination, which is something you cannot avoid almost using other modes, right?
Yeah, if you have transshipment, the risk will be minimal. But also in the loading and in the discharge phase, when you are stuffing the cargo onto the road trailer, you will have first of all, you prepare the cargo or the mafis, the road trailers before the vessel arrives. You can plan for the receiving or the stuffing of cargo well in advance before the vessel arrive. You don't have the stress, you don't have the pressure, you do not need to time the truck deliveries exactly when the vessel is alongside. So you do this preparation well in advance, and a roll trailer is from 30 centimeter up to maybe 50 centimeters high. So the lift you're making it's not so high. If you go lift cargo over the ship side, it will be much higher lift and exposure for wind and other elements. So it's a safe stuffing operation as well, well in advance before the vessel arrives. The cargo is ready to go on board, and as you say, transshipment is no issue, no big challenge when that is necessary. And as well, the receiving of the cargo is then, and the cargo is discharged with the roll trailer and then ready to pick up when the trucks are ready and enter the port.
I think that's very clear and certainly a good solution for break bulk cargoes. One thing, of course, is important to know for the listeners and viewers here is where in the world you cover. Of course, we know the major trade lane, Asia, US, Europe, Asia, and so on. But I also know that as one of the few, you even have RoRo services into the Caribbean, don't you? And other, let's say, you can do several combination possibilities and can reach markets where you wouldn't think that there is a RoRo possibility. So in that sense, you are kind of global, aren't you?
Yeah, we have more or less global reach through our trade networks, and as you mentioned with the transshipment and the small risk involved in handling transshipment, you can also connect to the other trades even if you do not have the direct connection. So the best persons to answer and look into this would be the local sales guy, and then they can come up with solutions for most of the cargo opportunities coming.
Right. Then I have another question, which is very important for many freight forwarders around the world and vital. I believe that Höegh Lines is freight forwarder friendly. And by saying this, I mean, of course, you're friendly to every customer, but a freight forwarder, as you know, is normally the intermediary between the real shipper and the ship owner. And the freight forwarder has a job to do, often meaning door to door. We have seen in recent times some ship owners are now trying to go ashore, meaning they have their own freight forwarding division, and in effect sometimes competing with a freight forwarder. How is the policy of Höegh Lines in this respect?
No, but as you touched in upon, we work with our customers. We need cargo, and then for us it's all the time the best way who will provide the cargo for the vessel. So we are very often bidding in or taking part in bigger projects. I did mention some rail projects, or there might be other bigger break bulk projects. We map these. We are following the development on these big tenders. But for us, it's more who will win the contract of the forwarders, and we need to be there, and we work with multiple options as such.
Yeah, so basically you treat, I mean, let's say you get the same inquiry from 5 different forwarders, you would treat them equally. I mean, they would get the same price, and there's a system in place for that, or?
When we look into a project, very often we receive the same inquiry from many different directions, and it might also be from many different local offices, as we mentioned. But then we are pricing this in a same same way for everyone. So we have our rate on this product depending on how we will use the equipment and vessel needed, etc. And that is what we are then giving everyone the same chance on securing that business.
But that sounds like a clear and straightforward way, and I respect that very much. And I think also at least the members I have in my 2 networks and other forwarders will like it, because let's face it, even the shippers nowadays can be tricky. In the past, they used to ask, let's say, 3 freight forwarders for a quote. Now they ask 10, who then go out and ask another few. So it's like rings in the water. It circles everywhere, and it's the same inquiry. So for you, it might sometimes be difficult to see who is actually the one to trust. So better give the same to everyone, right?
Yeah.
So what's in the future for Höegh Lines and for RoRo? COVID, of course, has played a role. Do you feel that your ships, have you lost business because of all this virus crisis, or are you, as some ship owners, going stronger than ever at the moment? How is the RoRo situation, both cars and high and heavy for you?
Yeah, I think more or less every company involved in transportation has been having impact of COVID situation. Same for us. We transport, of course, a lot of cars. Car sales has been stopped or close to zero in many countries. And biggest impact of this was, of course, during second quarter this year. What we see now is, of course, a recovery phase. We have seen different subsidies or governmental support to stimulate the growth. Again, it's still a little bit different when you look at different countries, but it's definitely back in a recovery mode. I think for the high and heavy and break bulk segment, you have seen a little bit lower impact than for the car sales, but that's more related to product-driven investments or cargo flow. So it's not the impact will not be seen or noticed so quickly as you have for example car sales.
Right. And on the final question I'd like to ask you, Oskar, is just to remind all our viewers and listeners. So when they have an inquiry, let's say for high and heavy and project cargo, what do you need? What kind of information do you need to save time? I do realize that some forwarders are not always giving you the details they should in order to get a quote. What are the basics that you need in order to give a quick quote for any project?
Yeah, it's difficult to be generic answer on that question, but of course the dimensions, the weight is always important, and then the more description that can be given, if it's just a simple truck, it's relatively easy and it's just sufficient to mention it's a truck, but it's important if it's self-propelled, if it's non-forkliftable, if it's stackable, if it's so the more information and the quicker response we will be able to provide. I think that is the best answer on that question.
Yeah, of course. No, but it gives itself. Of course, the more information, the better. Do you need also is drawing or picture? Is that something that you sometimes get? Is that helpful?
Yeah, we have operational team and they look into if it's more complicated cargo and heavy pieces. For them it's important, or for us it's important, of course, identify the lashing points, lifting points, and so there is sufficient and a safe method of securing and handling the cargo. If that is through pictures, if that is through drawings, the more details, of course, once again, it's easier and better and quicker, easier to respond quicker to such inquiry.
Okay, that's very clear. Now, I can only say what I hear from the market, and I do speak to thousands of people, at least via my newsletter. Höegh Lines has a good name in the market, and I think you can be proud of your product. And that's also why I'm very happy to interview you and spread the word. But I want to say, before I say my final words to the audience here, I want to say thank you very much, Oskar, for providing some intel. And as I said, good to have you back here in Scandinavia. I'm in Stockholm and you are in Oslo, but I don't even think that we are allowed to meet each other nowadays, also due to this, right?
No, not now, but now I wonder where it's the biggest outbreak, if it's here in Oslo or in Stockholm. But yeah, I look forward to meet as soon as it is possible.
Definitely, I can promise you that. Thank you, Oskar. And to all our viewers around the world and listeners, whatever your choice is, I want to say thank you very much once again to Mr. Oskar Orstadius of Höegh RoRo Lines Höegh Lines in Oslo, Chief of Sales. Please do contact him whenever you have an inquiry. They are capable and they are trustworthy. And with those words, I want to say thank you very much to all and see us again next time. Thank you.